believe the answer is no. I'm pretty sure.
No, CeeDee Lamb did not score a touchdown in the first preseason game.
Nobody did for us. But let's find out for sure. Is there any way you would trade CeeDee Lamb right now? And there's a couple of reasons I thought about this. We're also going to go to Jerry, who's like, hey, I have more stuff to say about CeeDee Lamb. But I also saw a whole bunch of betting odds for where CeeDee Lamb would go, and then also what those trade packages would look like. And so I have to admit, I was a little bit intrigued. But first, let's go to Jerry. Cut number 8. What were you really saying about CeeDee Lamb?
I think I got in trouble a little the other day when I said, look, we're not urgent about CD. Well, no one appreciates CD being on the field any more than I do. But let me say this, he wouldn't be taking a snap out here today if he'd been here for all. You've got to use your head when you expose key players. That gives the other younger players a chance to do it. We know exactly what CD can do, and he's worked out with Dak. And so we wouldn't have him out here. It has really not anything to do with his contract. Dak won't be out here this afternoon. And so the bottom line is, what it is no, there's not that urgency. Now, I understand completely the angst that's happening when you are anxious about and someone says anything about whether you're missed or not. Well, CD, you're missed, okay? But you're not missed out here competing, and it doesn't put any pressure any place on us.
Man, that answer was so much longer than I thought it actually was. All right, so he's like, don't even worry about it. But,
which is true.
Yeah.
I mean, it is a reality. He wasn't going to play in that game.
Agreed.
I think it's a failure of understanding leadership in a room. Whenever your guy's not around, that leadership is missing. If he has become a leader, that leadership is missing right now, and it's not there. And I don't know that anybody's sitting there going, well, oh man, now it's my time to take over. I'm going to show them so that they don't have to re-sign CeeDee Lamb. But I do think that it is a failure on leadership to see and recognize at this moment what they're trying to build. But I don't think CeeDee's missing anything right now either.
I have this question. I'm with you for the most part. I'm like 99% with you. And I asked this question to Kyle Yeomans on Friday, I believe, I get it. They don't do a lot of cardio during training camp. You would be surprised how little cardio they actually do.
And
they
lift weights down the thing.
Yeah, and they're doing things that we don't see maybe, but like, I just
sometimes
wonder,
the coaches are like, hey, you need to work on your cardio, and they do after practice stuff.
Yeah, so CeeDee Lamb, let's just say he misses all of this week of practice. And then he misses all of the next week of practice, and then they sign him. So we are now like, okay.
Leading into game 1.
Yeah, you're kind of getting close. Will there be like, hey, and maybe this isn't a big deal, but hey, he probably can't play like 90% of the snaps. He's usually out there for, I'm going to guess 80 to 90% of the plays. He'll go big packages or whatever. Maybe he runs a fly route, catches a ball 45 yards down the field, and they're like, hey, sit out this play. We get it. You're tired from sprinting 45 yards down the field. But do you have to worry about his stamina and cardio the first couple weeks of the season?
Yes, I think you do.
If you wait that long.
That just goes from every former player that I've ever talked to that always says, and it started with Jesse Holley was the first one I ever heard say it, and from there on it was every other one agrees. It takes about 3 weeks to get NFL legs. So, I mean, I know CeeDee Lamb's a professional. I know he is going to be as prepared as he can be, but it is definitely different when you're not out on the field doing those things. So, yeah, his conditioning might be a little fatigued early or late in that game.
All right, if you'll indulge me for a second, I wanted to pitch out a potential offer
trade
for CeeDee Lamb. Just see what you think.
Let's be Danny Ainge here. I want 6 first-rounders.
Okay, you will not like these trade offers then.
All right.
So I was reading something on, I think it's Bleacher Report. The bulk of the trade offers are the same, just the extra player being different. But from Arizona, Detroit, Green Bay, and the Chargers, they would all give you a first-round pick for this next draft, a third-round pick for this next draft, and then one of their wide receivers. So obviously that rotates from place to place. Like, for example, in Arizona,
Marvin Harrison Jr. I'll take him.
I don't need a first or a third.
I'll do the trade straight up.
I'll take
Player
the
for
third
player.
and Marvin Harrison Jr.
Okay.
I'll give him. You're giving him a third?
No, I'll take the third.
I'll give him a third. Here's
So
why.
you don't have to pay him anything.
Yeah, I'm being serious. For 4 years, I have Marvin Harrison Jr. on a rookie contract.
That is interesting. Now, this offer included Michael Wilson, who was a third-round pick last year. If you,
Oh, my favorite receiver.
I don't know if any of these will
His
do
name's Michael.
I have
anything
no
more
clue.
for you. Jamison Williams would be the receiver for the Lions.
Has
First
he been
round.
hurt most of his career?
And suspended
Yes,
What
he was.
did he get suspended for?
gambling.
Oh, okay. Well,
Right?
Is that right?
Was he not part of that group that got in trouble for
I
the?
don't recall that.
Okay, I'll look it up.
He was a first-round pick in 2022. For the Packers, it would be Christian Watson. We've seen him.
Solid.
Second-round pick in 2022. And for the Chargers, Joshua Palmer, a third-round pick who might actually be the most productive of the bunch in 2021. So across the board, a first-round pick, a third-round pick, and then another wide receiver. So I understand what you're saying about Marvin Harrison, but let's assume Junior. It was something like that. Would that interest you whatsoever?
it's weird. I think it's a great question.
No.
It's just I know that the Cowboys don't do anything like this, so it's tough to put myself into this
Fair.
hypothetical. Like if we're doing Mavs trade talks or Rangers trade talks, I know that they move and shake, and I know that it's trading is different in all three sports that I'm mentioning. But
The only reason I bring it up now too is you're right. But the more and more, I just kind of want to put your money where your mouth is. Not you, but the Joneses when they're like, hey, there might not be enough salary for everyone. I'm like, okay, there's not. What are you going to do about it?
if you don't think you can win the championship in the next 2 years, I would strongly consider stuff like this.
Okay.
If I know that, I don't think they know this. I think they assume they're bringing Dak back on like a 3-year, $180 million contract. I think that they have in the back of their mind, look, at the end of the day, which is what they're probably going to say.
Sure.
We love him. He's second in MVP. 3 years, $180 million, 150 of it's guaranteed. And we're going to be like, that's a lot, and that's a lot guaranteed. But I think that's what's going to happen. But if they were really going to move on from Dak, what's the point of having a $35 million receiver?
I'm with you. All right. You said no quickly.
Yeah, I'm not.
Can you tell me why?
I mean, I don't think you're going to get a level of receiver that is CeeDee Lamb. CeeDee Lamb's top 5 receiver right now. Potentially top 3.
Agreed.
He could have a season this year that could make him the best receiver. Like that changes every single season. So you found a guy like that, and he is going to be productive like that for the next 5 years, probably.
Yeah.
I think. You go through with that first and third. Now, granted, hey man, I think of Broadus. You know, there are people out there that are like, I'll find you some players with that first and third pick. Like, and Kevin, I'll tell you what, man, if you want to go ahead and say, Dak, we're done, we're moving on, you now have 2 first-round picks that you could use to move up, and actually, if it's Detroit, you might be lower, but you move up, and you can go get one of those quarterbacks in the top 10.
Can I ask you one more team then? What about the Patriots? Because the Patriots supposedly were in the mix for Brandon Ayuk.
You're gambling that they stink, but
Yes, I am. So what if the Patriots, same deal, they said, I'll give you my first-round pick and third-round pick.
And I'm giving them CeeDee Lamb to make them better.
And
again, I'm still saying no because you have that. You have one of those where everybody else is trying to find one of those.
Okay.
And you already have it, and I don't see any reason to go ahead and move on from that. Unless, again, your plan is to take picks and move up to go change quarterbacks.
I just think this is the tough thing with this is the Cowboys aren't all in.
Yeah,
and I don't know, but they're not all out either. They're not like rebuilding. They're not going, hey, this is going to be a transition year and we're going to get the cap right. No, they're not even like the cap's not going to be right after this year. Like it's a weird time. So what are the Cowboys? I guess my question back to you on this hypothetical trade or trades. What are the Cowboys trying to accomplish the next 2 to 3 years?
And that's honestly my real answer versus what I think the answer should be. My real answer is maintaining relevancy. And I think that is what they will get done. They will maintain relevancy, not move too far out of their comfort zone one way or another. And that's going to work out fine. So like, for example, on the YouTube, I saw Joe Kay go, hey, CeeDee's got a base salary of $17.991 million, I believe. Does anyone really think he's going to walk away from that? No, not at all. Like, I don't want this to get confused. I'm not saying that the Cowboys, by any stretch of the imagination, are going to be without CeeDee Lamb this year. Plus, even if it was just that, they couldn't come to a contract agreement, he could franchise tag him. And you can franchise tag him again. So you still have plenty of time. But it's Mike's question that has me asking this question, because I don't understand. That's not true. I totally understand what the Cowboys are doing. I just don't agree with it. I think what they're doing is, let's stay relevant record-wise so we can continue to be the most relevant brand-wise. And I hate that idea. Like, the fact that they haven't signed Dak yet, I'm like, make a decision one way or another. If he only wants to sign for 3 years and you're not willing to do that, move him. If you want to pay him $60 million and that's the only way you'll get it done, because then you'll keep him for 5 years, let's say, do that. Just make a decision.
Now, this also does bleed into the conversation. How many times do you look and say the wide receiver was the difference for a Super Bowl team?
I understand that concern.
I think that if you're in that mentality, then you have to look at the reality, Kevin. What is the difference in all of those Super Bowls? We've discussed this at length.
Yeah.
What are the two things that matter there? Strong quarterback play and great defense.
Yep.
If you're going to be that kind of team, you have to have a great defense and strong quarterback play.
Yeah.
So the Cowboys would say, all right, if you're going to make that, if you're going to say that's where we're going, you move on from CeeDee Lamb and you say we're committing every other thing that we have to the defensive side of the ball and making sure that's the best that you could possibly find out there. Because you're going to need strong quarterback play, and when the playoffs come around, currently the quarterback that you're going to end up paying is good.
So think about this. When you talk about how much of a difference the wide receiver can make, or you just set up like you need to be that Super Bowl or bust or Super Bowl and waiting kind of team. If CeeDee Lamb were to get traded, which I don't think is going to happen, do you know who the two odds-on favorites are to get him? The Kansas City Chiefs and the Detroit Lions.
To get CeeDee Lamb?
To get
God.
CeeDee Lamb.
Can you imagine St. Brown and him on the same team?
And so that speaks to the idea
got paid too.
and that speaks to the idea of teams that would be looking at it in terms of, well, we're ready to win now. Obviously, the Chiefs are in the middle of winning right now. And then the Lions, they just had a huge breakthrough this last season, getting back to the NFC Championship.
They believe
game.
they can do it again too.
Yeah.
And they're not. That's not built on any facade of we think we can do it.
No,
that
I
is
think that's
leadership
fair.
from the top down that actually believes they can and is committed to it.
Help me out here with NFL contract real quick. I have this pulled up on Spotrac because I want to you were talking a couple minutes ago about D-Mavs. I believe, no, Joe K. Sorry, D-Mavs was right after him on the YouTube. It's pulled up over here. He's not walking away from almost $18 million.
Yeah.
I think he will, and here's why. Signing bonus $7.7 million, and then it says contract terms so far 4 years, $14 million. So am I adding those up right? He's made in his career approximately $22 million.
I thought that the signing bonus was factored into that 4 for 14,
okay.
but I'm not positive about that.
Let's go with low numbers here. Let's just say over his career he's made $15 million. Well, after taxes and paying your agent and everything, you got to cut it in half. People don't understand this, but as a professional athlete, you only see 50% of what it says on these websites because of the fees that you owe and taxes that you owe. So he does have $7.5 million. I'm not saying exactly in the bank, but that's his take-home pay so far playing in the NFL approximately. He can sit out, and we've seen that Jerry Jones always breaks in these situations. He never if I'm CeeDee Lamb, if I'm the agent, yeah, it is a scary proposition to play. He's not going to walk away from that. The Cowboys have never played this game. Because they know that, to your point of relevancy over the next 2 to 3 years to being a playoff contender, a team that makes the playoffs, they always give in the end because they're like, dude, we're not going to – if we don't have CeeDee Lamb, we're not going to make the playoffs. I mean, let's be honest. What's the record? Let's just say CeeDee Lamb, the Cowboys stay strong, and CeeDee Lamb stay strong. Nobody moves, and he doesn't play this year. What's the Cowboys' record?
7-10, maybe?
Sounds good.
Do you think Jerry Jones is willing to do that?
No.
I don't either.
He's not. So that's where CeeDee Lamb will get what he wants. In the end, Jerry will get scared. And I don't blame him for this either. I'm not I do not want this to sound like I take plenty of shots at Jerry, and he deserves to me every one that I give. Is in this, I'm not taking a shot at Jerry. Jerry looks at it the way I just asked you that question. He's in the room. He says, guys, if we stay strong on this contract and we don't give him what he wants and we only offer what we are willing to give, and he sits out this year, we're not even going to be a contender in December, right?
Yeah.
And the answer is we probably won't be. With our wide receiver depth and our running back depth and our team in general, he probably means 3 wins to us. Switch that record to 10-7, guys, and we're in the playoffs, and we're super relevant, and we live for another day, and we make the playoffs, and you never know what can happen in the playoffs.
Yep.
So I understand what you guys are saying, that he won't walk away from the $18 million, and that makes a lot of sense to us. We all make 5 to 6 figures somewhere in there. Hey, different people listening might make millions of dollars. We don't come close to that. But most people listening, if they have a regular job, are making somewhere, let's just say, between $40,000 and $150,000. I know it's a big range, but yeah, we get $18 million. We'll never make $18 million in our life. I'll never make that money.
Sure.
I can work for the Rangers forever and Bally's forever and here forever. I will never come close to making $18 million, and most people listening won't either. So that number sounds crazy to us. But if you had right now $7.5 million in the bank, I can probably sit out knowing that eventually I am going to get $100+ million contract. Somebody will break. Either they're going to trade me, which I think is unlikely, or most likely the Jones family, Jerry, breaks, and I get the contract that I always wanted, because they cannot afford to be a non-contender.